Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how you doing today?
I am like multitasking to the nines today, Joe. So we have just kicked off this podcast late because of me, because of my daughters mess around with my computer, and stuff like that. And I've got these kids downstairs homeschooling with a bunch of technical issues. So it's fun. Got a bunch of listings coming on the market and buyers clamoring at me. So I am running 24/7 these days. Good problem to have. Fun because I love real estate and everything to do with it. And of course I love my kids too. So here we go. Where are you at?
Nice. I am in a mountain bike parking lot in Moab, actually.
Wow. Now that's not your first stop at Moab. You guys went back or what?
Oh man, we've been here several times. This is definitely a favorite of ours.
How long does it take to drive there from the Seattle area, you think?
I don't know. How long do you think it takes to drive to Moab from Seattle?
20 hours.
Emily thinks 20 hours.
20 hours? That's not that bad, you know?
No, it's less than a day. You could come and mountain bike with us tomorrow. You want to be here?
I would love to be there to escape all these crazy people in my house right here. What's funny one time is I missed a flight out of Vegas. I don't know why I'm thinking of this. And I actually was like, you know what, guys, I'm ready to go because it's Vegas and you can only spend so much time in Vegas, right? So we rented a car and drove back. And that felt like it was about 20 hours. But you know what? It was gorgeous and beautiful. So if you guys ever get stuck in Vegas, just rent a car, drive back. There you go.
That's a great idea.
Awesome. I am super excited today, guys. I'm just going to jump right into it. We have a rising star with us today. And after today, if you haven't heard about Mr. Cody Davis, you are going to be following him and watching his journey after you hear his story today. Cody Davis is a local investor and real estate broker at Blackwell Real Estate in Tacoma, Washington. Cody owns 24 doors and growing, but here's the extra special thing about Cody Davis. He's only 20 years old. He owns more doors than he is old, guys. And so if you are looking for inspiration to kickstart or enhance your real estate investing or your broker investor business, our show today is absolutely for you. So I am super stoked to introduce you to Mr. Cody Davis. What's up, Cody?
Hey, Julie. How are you?
I'm good. Good. And we can't wait to hear your story today. And I know that we are going to go long on this. So because you're such an interesting guy and you're going to inspire us all, we could probably talk to you for hours. So we're going to jump right into it because we want to talk to you as long as we can. So Joe, kick it off.
Yeah, Cody. So we love to get to know people on the show. So if you wouldn't mind letting us know where you grew up, what that was like for you, and how that led you into real estate. For most people, I'm like, how did it lead you from, your job to real estate to whatnot? But for you, you're so young. How did you get this fire inside of you to get into real estate?
Sure. So I grew up in Tacoma, Washington. I've been here my whole life, and I don't have anybody that was in real estate that really pushed me, but it was really a family friend. Just growing up in my teen years, I was in the beginning of high school. A family friend gave me the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And they said, read through it. I wasn't really a big fan of the book because I didn't like to read, but they also grabbed the cash flow board game. And so I started to play, started to learn. And I got super excited about real estate. It's like, I want to go buy a duplex. And then I realized I was only 14, 15 years old, and there's no way I could buy a duplex. So I kind of pushed it aside And a couple years later, I got a job as a gymnastics coach. I was coaching at the local YMCA on Pearl Street. Did that for a few years, picked up the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book again, read about it, and I set a goal that I was going to own a duplex at 21 years old. And I was doing handyman jobs. I was helping paint houses, cleaning yards, pressure washing for a family friend. They own a few rentals in the area. And they said, you should join this group on Facebook. It was a real estate group focused in Washington. And maybe someone can help you out. And so I joined the group, made a post.
Which group?
That was WARI.
Okay.
It was the Washington Real Estate Investors Group on Facebook. And I kicked it off, made a post saying, and I have a screenshot of the post. It's still funny to me today, but it was just saying I got a couple jobs that I'm working on putting together. I really want a duplex at age 21. Is there anyone who can help me out? And there were some folks who were super helpful. Some weren't. That's how it always is. There's always a balance. But got reached out to by Robert Slattery. He is the owner of Blackwell Real Estate. He just said, hey, if you're looking for an opportunity, we've got a little shop here focused on investment properties in Tacoma. And you can make a little bit better money with a little less hours than you would in retail, which is where I was looking to go to make my money. And that's what kicked it off last January, 2019.
And when you say retail, what do you mean by retail?
Well, I was looking at just working for a couple different stores. I looked at Target.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Retail mean like retail, like, yeah. Okay. I understand. I didn't know if he meant like being a retail broker or a broker investor. So you were saying like you were deciding whether you were going to go work for a retail company, like a shopping experience versus jumping. Well, the funny thing is you can actually do both when you get started in real estate, but so you chose to join Robert's crew down there at Blackwell Real Estate in Tacoma.
Yeah, and it was a very small crew at the time. Blackwell Real Estate was a company founded in 2015, but Robert never really opened it up to folks until like 2018.
Yeah.
And so I was joining right at the end of 2018, early 2019. So I was one of the first guys on.
Awesome.
It's amazing to get to be at something in the beginning.
Right.
I think I got a lot more attention, which is what helped me progress to what I've done today.
Oh man, that's a good story. So did you succeed in your goal of buying a duplex by the time, well, you're 20, wait a minute. You said by 21, you're 20 and you own 24 doors. Okay. So you crushed that one. No problem. So have you only purchased multifamily so far, or do you have some single family as well?
Yeah. So I started out, my first deal was actually a 12-plex. And so I skipped the single family. I skipped the 4-plexes, the 8-plexes. I went straight to 12. I love Grant Cardone. Like, I look up to him a lot, and the 10X movement's been great. And looking back on it, I've 10X'd my original goal. I went from 2 to 24, a little over 10. And so I just wanted to start with the biggest deal I could get into in a good market.
That is a good lesson and a good story, because I actually think that people who start off flipping realize within 2 years or maybe 3, hopefully 2, that it's a day job taxed at the highest rates. It's kind of like, okay, well, if you want a day job, then that'd be your day job, a risky one a little bit. And I think people can skip all that if they eventually realize, oh man, I should have kept some of those properties I flipped. I'd like to shout out to the world, like you will get to the point where you realize that you should have kept those properties if you're flipping, or some of them, the ones that pencil. And that I agree with you. Go straight for the big stuff. You just have to learn it. You have to understand the financing, and you just work your way backwards into going for the big 100%. You're going to be I'm going to use the word trumpet because I know you play the trumpet to shout this to the world, guys. You don't have to do all this stuff. You can be like Cody here, and you can go straight to what everybody's goal eventually is 5 years down the line once they realize it. And you can start from the beginning with these bigger deals. So take us back, Cody, for a minute, though. Tell us, how did you get your first deal? Where was it? How did you get it? What was your down payment? How did you finance it? Give us the details.
Yeah, so I'll kind of leeway into that, or parlay into that. The number one issue that people have, and the reason they don't buy real estate, what I've learned, is they don't think they can get the money for it. They make that the biggest issue. But the real concern that I've had to face is, do I love the deal? Because if I don't love it, my investors aren't going to love it. Because I know if I didn't have money at the time, I had maybe $3,000 in my bank account. If I don't love the deal, I'm not going to be able to convey that to anybody, and I won't be able to get it. But my first deal, I wasn't looking in Seattle. I can't look into a super overinflated market. And so I had to look out a little bit. I started looking over in Central Washington. And I got this story. There was a client in the office. It wasn't even my client. He had a 22 unit deal. It was off market over in Moses Lake, Central Washington. And it was seller financed, $300,000 down. It was supposed to close within about 15 days. And the buyer backed out. The client backed out. And then Robert, my mentor at Blackwell, he said, "Why don't you buy this? We got the money raised." I said, "I can do that." Because at the time I had no idea that it would even be possible to put something like that together. And he said, "Yeah." And then the seller said, "No, I'm not going to assign it to you. I'm done." And so that kind of tanked my confidence. I was super excited about this opportunity. It was 22 units and it completely bummed me out. And then I just looked on the market. My first deal was on the MLS. It was a 12
Why
plex.
Why did he say he wasn't going to sell it? Did he just say he wasn't going to sell it because he didn't want to go through, had a bad experience, or he was like, "You're a young guy, you can't do it"?
To this day, it might have been my lack of experience, but on the other side of that, I mean, I take responsibility for that looking back on it, but it also could have been because there was a couple extensions already in the contract and we would have needed one extra week. So there's probably a few factors in that held me back, but I also might not have been ready looking back for 22. Who knows?
Did you have $300,000 to put down?
We had it raised. Robert at Blackwell, so a little about the company I'm with, they have the brokerage side of things. They have the property management piece, and then they have a fund called Black Cap, which at the time had the money liquid that I could have signed a note for.
And that's through Robert's fundraising efforts that on his funding.
That was on his end. Yeah, I didn't raise the 300. It wasn't on me at all. It was just he said, "You can do this. Let's do it." And the seller said no. So I got completely devastated and I found a deal on the market, same market. And it said seller financing. So I called up the broker, said, "Hey, I absolutely love your property. I'll be there tomorrow. I just lost out on a 22 unit in the neighborhood. When can we meet?" And that started the conversation. 2 months later, I closed on it. And the rest is history.
And Robert, here's your partner on that one.
Yeah. And yeah, and I partnered with Robert on that. He gave me an option. It was a decision I had to make. He was like, "You can do this on your own." And there was a commission on the deal. He said, "You can do it on your own and I'll give you 100% commission for the deal, or we can do it together. I'll give you some of my tips, my expertise, so you can make sure this is a win. And we'll just go 50-50 on the partners." And I just thought in my head, well, I can get into a deal for free. I get paid a commission to buy it. And I'm going to get to partner with someone who's been doing it for a long time. Starting to think of him more as a business relationship, as an enabler for my situation. And it was a huge boost for my confidence going into my first deal.
Absolutely awesome. I actually agree. I find that people should find a mentor and do their first deal or two with an experienced, investor is the way to go, right? I mean, you make less money, but you lose less money. So, most likely. That's a fantastic story. So what's the status of that property today? What'd you guys do when you bought the property?
So I found the deal. I negotiated the deal, and I had to pitch it to Robert, and he liked it. We got it for $1,000,001. It was seller financed. I negotiated. They wanted 20% down. I brought it down to 10. And we've got a 30-year note with no balloons. And I went in knowing that I could raise the property value just looking at rents. The rents on the 2 bedrooms were $700, $725, $750. And now the 2 bedrooms are $950. As people have left, I've jacked the rent to where it should be and should have been in the first place.
Did you
Because
have
the previous
to rent
owner had
units to get there
the units are gorgeous.
from the start?
They were gorgeous from the start. This was an amazing deal. It took some looking to find it, but it was a great deal. It was already beautiful. I've done some work. Nothing is free, but I was able to re-rent it, and the demand in that area is just phenomenal because we've got Microsoft, we've got Boeing, Verizon. So we've got quite a few data centers, some larger employers. And I knew going in we could raise rents, and looking at it when it was all said and done, I projected in the beginning that it was going to be worth about $1,500,000. Right now it's worth about $1,400,000, $1,500,000. We're getting there. So then I get to refi and have nothing in it.
Awesome. Good stuff. That is a good stuff. So how long were you you ended up it sounds like you ended up in central, or is that Eastern Washington?
Yeah, central Eastern Washington. It's over by Moses Lake. It's almost dead center between us in Seattle and Spokane.
So you weren't really looking to get over in that area. It happened that a deal came up in your office, that opportunity that brought you to Moses Lake, and then you just kept looking over there because you realized those are better prices and opportunities, and another seller financing deal came up, right? And that's what led you there. And so would you continue to invest in those areas in Moses Lake? Are you looking for more deals in Moses Lake?
Yeah, I'm currently talking with a seller. I'm working on 2 deals. I'm working on a 6 and I'm working on a 16. And those are both seller finance. And what I've learned is that the more I do, the more I can do. And it starts to build the story and the credibility to talk with these sellers, and more so the confidence, gives them the confidence that I can perform. And that's all they want. They want to know that they're going to get paid.
And have you had anybody push back on you when they meet you or see you and see how young you are? Have you felt that discrimination, we'll call it, even though you're smarter than probably and now more experienced than probably the majority of other people who would be contacting them?
That was really a self-inflicted problem in the beginning. I thought it was true, and so it became a reality. Now folks look at me, they don't ask for my credit score. None of these sellers have ever asked what my credit score is. They've never asked for a proof of funds, because it's all about giving them a feeling of confidence. And when they see me, they're like, that's awesome. And so I've tried to flip the script of, oh, you're too young, into, well, this guy is super young. He started with nothing. Now he's got a couple $1,000,000 worth of real estate. Maybe he's onto something, and we can work with him. And so I really had to get over that in my head, but I realized it was a self-inflicted problem. It was all made up.
Such a good point right there. Hallelujah for that. And you are inspiring so many people right now by saying that. And that goes for any age, about anything in your life. Most things are self-inflicted, right? Whatever it is in your life that your goals are, that you're trying to pursue. So how long were you in the real estate? Did you get your real estate license right away?
I did. So I'm the type of guy who likes to go all in. And so I didn't have a job at the time because I was on break from coaching gymnastics back in November 2018, December 2018. So I spent about 2.5 weeks, start to finish. I did the 90 hours of coursework, and then I took my real estate license, and I began early January. It was like January 6th. And I was off to the races as a real estate agent.
One of my soapbox issues for, I say, anybody who's an investor, somebody on the team themselves or somebody on the team should have a real estate license. It's absolutely crazy to me that people are in the real estate business. You don't have to actually buy and sell homes or properties and act, like a traditional agent. It's basically like an insurance card or a savings discount card, or, how do you use your real estate license, or how has it benefited you? Just so I can impress upon people my big soapbox issue of how everybody should have a real estate license if they're in the real estate business.
Yeah, so I would not have found like that 22 unit I told you about, the story earlier, the deal that fell apart. That was a completely off market sale that just fell apart. The 12plex I bought after was on the market, and I would not have found that without my license, because I didn't have all the search inputs that I had with my license. And so without it, like, I wouldn't have been able to call them up, just say, hey, I'm a real estate broker, I love your deal, I was trying to do another one in the area. Like, I wouldn't have been able to have those intelligent conversations. And without being an agent, I wouldn't have been in the environment every day talking about real estate, learning what I needed to know to have those intelligent conversations, because I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing when I go talk with these sellers. They need to know that I'm legit.
Instant credibility when you have your license. And so you're saying you wouldn't have access to the search and to the information if you weren't able to tap into that through your real estate agent, your real estate broker access. Absolutely. I always equate it to like, hey, like, look at guys, if you own a business and your inventory that you buy for your business is at Costco, let's say, for example, a little analogy here, would you go to your neighbor and say, hey, neighbor, can I borrow your Costco card? Or next time you're at Costco, can I tag along or borrow your card so I can buy the things I need and have access to the things I need for my business? No, you wouldn't, right? It's the same thing with real estate. Why the heck, would you not have your own access card to all the information? Why would you? It's also an insurance card, right? If things go south, somebody might bring you a deal someday, and it happens all the time in real estate that people that are broker investors let somebody else sell their property because it's a reciprocal relationship that you let somebody who brought you a deal maybe sell it or list it back or however that works, right? So just because you have but what that means also is if things were ever to go bad, economy, or, you screwed up a deal and the numbers were wrong, that you can use your license for big, big savings. I call that like an insurance policy, right? So, if you've been on the fence about thinking about getting a real estate license, I think you need to just stop overthinking it and go for it. It's easy to get, and it'll add value to your business as well, and credibility, walk-in credibility. So, of course, you guys all know that that's my soapbox. So how long were you in the real estate in game before you got your first deal then?
9 months. 9
months, guys. I mean, Jesus, what I'm talking about right here. This is so inspiring. Okay. Let me see what else I got on here. So we talked about how you got your first deal, how much down it does, seller financing. Are you to the point now where obviously you would love to get seller financing on deals that you purchase and have the opportunity to refinance out? Tell us about how you feel about seller financing. Are you ready to buy a property how would you at this point buy a property without seller financing? Are you in a place to do that?
I'm actually working on that. I need to get some exposure to bank debt, and that's something I've been chatting a lot about in the office right now. I have enough cash flow coming in. The net income from my properties is high enough over my debt to where I should be able to qualify for a conventional loan if I wanted to say FHA on a fourplex just off of the property income alone. And so what I'll likely do is do 3.5% down on a fourplex. And another benefit to being an agent, if I make 3% on the sale, I'm only buying a fourplex for 0.5 point down.
Come on, guys, wake up, right? Everybody needs to realize that. It's crazy, right?
It's a free fourplex. Yeah.
It's a free fourplex, right? So even though your goal, is to get as many doors as possible and probably buy the bigger, how about commercial financing? Have you talked to a commercial lender about because about, they want experience as well. Have they told you, okay, Cody, you're good to go as long as you're going to have your 30% down or whatever, and you're going to have enough experience under your belt? What are the checklist of things that you need to do at this point? Do you know, if you know, to get qualified for a commercial loan? Like, what you have Robert on your team for that first 12plex, so that helps with your financing. What about doing one on your own with commercial financing? What things do you need to check off the box at this point?
So right now, my next objective is just to handle my refis on my current buildings, because if I can get bank debt on the refis, I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable, because the biggest thing they're looking for is experience. You got to have the money down. You got to understand the management aspect of the business. They have to understand that, because you're partnering with them when you take the loan. And then they want to see that I'm experienced. And so I'm trying to stabilize these assets I've got now with commercial financing, so that it's not my first time when I say, hey, I want to go buy something. I'm trying to build the relationship with what I've got now. I've got a couple commercial brokers I work with. We've done deals with for clients like in markets like Bremerton and Eastern Washington and Pierce County. So I'm trying to build the relationships with them, with the clients, so I have that connection, but then I can go to them and say, hey, I've got these deals, I want to refi. And once I've done that, I've already built that financial connection, the partnership.
Right. And then do you know if the commercial lenders are saying, hey, because your goal is to refinance your current properties, are they saying, okay, Cody, we need to see that you've moved the needle on your NOI and your debt service coverage ratios, and we need to see that you have 2 years under your belt, that you're self-managing these? Are they saying that to you?
They do want to see the experience, and they want to see the time, which is why I haven't done it yet.
Have they given you a time, though? Have they said we need 2 years of time, or they're just saying they haven't put that kind of a finite check the box?
They have their one timeline that I've been working with is that if I want to pull money out, meaning that I get a loan that'll pay off all the investor money that I raised for my first couple deals, then I have to hold it for at least a year. It's that seasoning period.
Yeah.
So this month, it's October. At the end of this month, I will have held my first 12plex for 1 year. It's the 31st.
Man, that is fantastic, man. I'm going to have my kids who are 12 years old. I keep telling them, how old do you have to be to get a loan? 18, or how old do you have to be?
I think it's 18.
Yeah. I keep telling them, like, as soon as you guys are, of age, you are going to be living in a duplex, and you're going to own it, and you're going to rent it out the other side to one of your friends. So I want my own daughters to follow your journey. It'll be really interesting for them. It's funny because one of their little friends is super interested, and my 2 kids were giving me crap about it. And I said, okay, well, Naya is now my 3rd child, and she's interested, and I'm gonna bring her along and teach her everything. And that's all I had to say when they're like, no, we're in. No, we're good. We want in with my girls. But that is super. I can't wait to hear about it. We'll have to have you back on periodically to get some details on your journey, if that sounds good to you.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I want to help you with this growth any way I can. I also might want to be an investor in one of your deals. How about that?
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it. So are you planning to hold everything you have now, or are you going to try and 1031 up into, trade up? Have you thought about that?
I've looked at that. I've thought about that a lot, because I built up, well, it's not a lot, but for my age, I consider it a lot of equity. I'm sitting between $300,000 to $500,000 right now of equity. And I was thinking, well, if I sell, I can move up and buy up to $2 million worth of real estate. But for me, why not keep it going? I look up to Grant Cardone, and he says his biggest mistakes are, number 1, not buying big enough, and then 2, selling.
Not buying big enough. I swear that is the message that I want everybody to hear today. Everybody needs to have cash flow. while they're starting their career or growing their portfolio. And so, yeah, flipping could be an option for that. But for God's sakes, you will, I promise you, like I said, I'm going to repeat it again. You're going to want to wish that you have kept some of those. So today is the wake up call with the help of Cody to know you can start big, right? 10x it, like he says. And the other thing, Cody, to keep in mind, and maybe, we're going to talk about your experience with Grant in a minute, but you want to diversify. So you don't want all your eggs in one basket in one big property, right? And one location. And so when you do your 1031s, rolling everything up into one big purchase would not, I don't think, be a good idea. Just that's not what I'm talking about, right? But, maybe taking your 12-plex to a 24 unit or something, right? Not taking all of them and rolling them all up into one big deal. That would, I think, be a mistake as well. But we definitely have some 1031 people. As long as the Democrats don't take away our ability to do 1031 exchanges, as we just had a podcast, maybe Joe, you can drop one of those in the show notes too, right? This isn't a political topic. It's just a what's the word? I'm not political, so I don't know if the word is bipartisan. We just need to know about it. We're investors. We need to know about keeping an eye on the needle when it comes to tax law changes for real estate investors that could potentially be up on the chopping block, depending on who becomes the next president. Absolutely not a political, statement. And you can listen to that podcast that we did about that topic. But
hey guys, it's Julie here with a quick break from the show to discuss an opportunity some of you may have interest in, which is to work more closely with me. On almost a daily basis, I get calls from investors and brokers, both new and experienced, asking me for guidance or advice. I love helping you guys out, and it keeps me on my toes too. So with that said, I wanted to let you know that I have a private broker coaching community called the VIP Education Community. And the best part is that it's 100% free. That's right, it's free to join. So whether you're a traditional broker or a broker investor, my VIP education community offers personalized one-on-one coaching from not just me, but also from my experienced broker friends with expertise in all disciplines of real estate and real estate investing. We'll teach and share our modern marketing strategies, our tech and lead generation resources, plus teach you how to identify or offer up opportunities for yourself or for your clients using techniques such as seller financing, lease options, land entitlement deals, BRRRR investing, flipping, multifamily or commercial coaching, whatever you like. We've got it all covered for you. The future of real estate is changing fast, and to stay in the game, it's time to learn about all the options you can offer your buyer and seller clients, as well as, if you want, learn how to use those skills to grow your own real estate portfolio. If you'd like more details about joining my VIP education community, reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com or text me at 206-910-2985 or just send me a Facebook message. My new favorite phrase is community equals confidence. So let's navigate the future of real estate together. Now, back to the show.
so what are your properties? You have a 12 unit in Moses Lake. What else do you have right now? Just to get the lay of the land for what's on your portfolio.
Yeah, so I've got two 12-plexes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both in the same area. So I started with 12, and then I got another 12. But I took a bigger leap on my second one. I got a fixer-upper, huge value-add opportunity. That there's a saying from Grant Cardone: "How crazy can you go?" Or it's crazy as a cash flow. So it's like I had enough cash flow to justify doing this deal that was a fixer-upper, and it had a huge upside. But that's in Moses Lake.
So you had enough cash flow off that fixer-upper property to justify you basically are taking the cash flow and using that to upgrade the units in the property?
Yeah, so I'm using the cash flow. And one message I want to share with the folks who are listening is I'm not buying, like if you guys follow cap rates, I'm not buying on 20% cap rates or 10% cap rates where you buy the single family and you make a crazy return. But the number that matters most to me is that I have 4-figure cash flow every month, despite me having to raise the money and pay the the investors back every single month, my deal's still cash flow 4 figures at a minimum, meaning I'm making at least $1,000 a month.
After
And
you've paid your investors.
after I pay the investors, after everything. And that is huge. Like, if you make 20% on a $50,000 deal, that's awesome and all, but it's only $10,000 a year. If we can start making it on bigger increments on like $700,000 deals or $1 million deals, there's enough cash flow in those in 12 plexes to warrant the risk and warrant all the time that will be spent on the front end. It's not $400 a month, because $400 a month doesn't motivate me. While it is tax-free income for the most part, it wouldn't get me up out of bed because it doesn't pay for anything. It doesn't pay for a water heater.
Exactly.
So,
That's why I don't invest in single family rentals trying to get, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month cash flow. I can't wrap my brain around that. I know that it's a viable strategy for sure, but if you can go bigger, like you said, that's the point of what we're talking about, guys. There's no reason you can't, that's good information, good insider. I also find people talk about on multifamily, they'll talk about cap rates, right? And,
right.
I've spent, like I said, I've owned up to 100 doors myself at one time. I currently own apartments still myself, and always been in the value add game on those, on what we purchased. And there's a difference when people talk about, they always talk about cap rate, this or that. Well, there's a cap rate on actual numbers, which is what the brokers tell you, which are the actual performance of the property when you purchase the property, these crappy numbers. And that could be a real low cap rate or sound like a stupid low cap rate. But you got to remember, those are on crappy numbers, right? And then there's the stabilized cap rate or your exit value cap rate, right? And those are totally two different things. And nobody ever mentions it. I find that weird. But your point is, forget cap rate, focus on cash flow, right? And focus
Especially on your first 2 deals. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's super important. My first 2 deals, I had to raise the money, but they still cash flowed $2,000 to $3,000 a month each. And because of that, it was easier to raise the money, say, this is how I'm paying you guys back. When I was talking to the investors, this is how you guys get compensated. You're not banking on me paying you, you're banking on the tenants. Because I could drop my rents by 30 to 40% and still be fine.
Right. Really good point. Really good point. So do you play like a preferred return to your investors?
Yeah.
And you're paying that monthly?
Yeah. So I pay 1 point a month, 12% a year.
Fantastic. That is really good stuff. That is good stuff. How I got started in the game, guys, is that I worked for a huge private investment company, real estate investment company, national, but headquartered here locally. Spent 16 years there myself. And how I started my career is that I was doing all the work. I was the not the day-to-day like property manager operator, but I was the asset manager, overseeing the renovation and the stabilization and of these projects. And I was able to get in these deals for anywhere. Maybe it started at 5% and eventually grew to even over 15%. We're talking of $20 million deals, and had to pay back, I'll say, my balance sheet guy, my principal investor, 12% before I ever got a dime. And so literally upon refinancing these properties, big properties, we're talking 150 to 200 unit properties, we'd get our money back with stabilized refinancing within 3 years. And then next thing you know, he's all paid up. I'm getting huge cash flow. And it is, man, if you can find a situation like that, absolutely the way to go. It's changed my life. That's why I'm doing so well today, right? Almost sort of working by choice. So great stuff. So what has been your worst experience so far, Cody?
My worst experience by far was having a tenant call me on my fixer-upper property The first one I got's on autopilot, but the second property in Moses, it's just, they gave me a call, said, hey, we've got a plumbing issue. And so I came over. I called a plumber. They said, we're booked out for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't fun. So I had one tenant move out in one of my other apartments. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to just do it myself because one, I don't want to screw it up, and two, that will lead to future problems. And so I moved this tenant over into that other apartment. And for 6 weeks, I had an empty unit that I'm just filling up actually this weekend. That wasn't giving me any money. It wasn't cash flow positive. But the upside is I bought the deal big enough to where it didn't need to be rented to cash flow every single month.
Well, you're probably getting enough units now. I don't, over there that you could probably have how I roll these days, the savior of my life that makes my life possible is I've got like a go-to kind of all around handyman project guy, like punch list type guy. And I just call him on demand, so if anybody's out there in Moses Lakes wants to get involved with Cody and learn from him and is a handyman, man, raise your hand and contact Cody right now. You get to learn something right along the way. Be his handyman and watch real time what's going down. That would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, I know you guys are listening, and I'm sure Cody's willing to teach for those that want to get into some sort of I'm not saying you have to work for free, but how great it would be to watch and follow in Cody's footsteps. So good stuff. Well, let's go on to one of the best experiences you've probably had so far. And I heard that you've met Grant Cardone, got face-to-face. Tell us how'd that happen? What's the deal? And what were your top takeaways from your meeting with him?
Yeah, so that happened. I started taking Cardone University last year. I was studying from his online university, trying to learn his sales tips, read all his books, watched his videos on YouTube. And I was bored in the office about 2 months ago. And I was thinking, who do I need to meet to take my game to the next level? And it was Grant Cardone. That was who came to mind. And so I took a personal video. I stood in front of a blank wall, had my phone up, just took a video, said, hey, Grant, this is Cody. I'd love to meet you. I've read all your books. I've done your online university. I'm 20 years old with no connections, and I've got 24 apartments. I'll fly over there tomorrow. When can I meet you? And I sent that to all of his top sales guys. I sent it to all their emails, and they forwarded it to him. And then I ended up flying over there a couple weeks later to go meet with him at a mastermind.
Holy cow. See,
yeah,
guys,
it was just,
you never know. You just have to ask. That is fantastic. So how many
ASK? Yeah. What was that?
Did he have like a bunch of you guys in the room, or what was the situation?
There was maybe 30 people in the room. So I got to meet like the gal to my left was liquid like $7 million. One of the guys in front of me was worth $35 million. It was like Rockstar Capital. His name is Robert, and he has 3,800 apartments. And so getting in a room with folks like that is just amazing. It was 100% worth the time, the effort, and all the commitment to get out there.
Did you have to pay to have that audience with Grant?
Yeah, I had to pay. It
Okay.
wasn't free, but I didn't know about the opportunity until I made the commitment to inquire and learn and actually reach out, because there's no amount of money I could spend right now. As long as I've got it, like I'm not going to borrow money to go see some guy, but if I've got the money, it's a piece of paper. I'm going to trade it for a connection any day I can.
I did the exact same thing, Cody, and I did that same thing, but with a guy named Sean Terry, Flip to Freedom. And I did the exact same thing, and it was fantastic, and just got to hang out with Sean and Corey Boatwright and some of these other guys, super rock stars, people and those people I had the same, maybe 20 people in the room, dissected our businesses and everything, and well worth it, and still connected to some of those people absolutely that were in the room today for sure. I know I could tap onto them. So wow, just curious, because I how much is like Cardone University if you sign up to go to that? Is that like 20 grand or what is that?
I mean, you can buy it outright because it's with the company. I know Blackwell provides a lot of amazing benefits for folks, but Blackwell purchased Cardone U, and so I know since they bought it in bulk, it's like $100 a month per person.
Got it.
So I don't know what the actual price is if you were to purchase it outright, but it's definitely worth it. It's taken me to a new level.
I'm going to look into that for my crew. Got about 30 brokers under me that are many of them broker investors. And that's a good tip there. Wow. So did he actually acknowledge you? Was he like, hey, I know you took a picture with him and all that, but did he like give you some personal time?
Yeah. So I got to ask him some one-on-one questions. And one of the questions, I told him what I've been able to do, and I asked him what his thoughts were on my situation, and he kind of reaffirmed what I was asking. And so I've got these properties within a similar area. They're similar neighborhoods, and there's a 12-plex, an 8-plex, and a 4-plex on the same block as my property. And I was asking him, I've got these leads that I can purchase from seller finance. I can move it right now. And my thoughts are, what if I buy all these properties up, I package it as a portfolio and sell it at a premium? And so we got to do some one-on-one conversations with that. And I mean, it's amazing being with someone who's never lost a property in 32 years, however long he's been doing it. Getting to hear from what he advises. And he said, yeah, I'd build the portfolio. I'd liquidate it, even though he says selling's a mistake. I'd liquidate out of that market and I'd go buy somewhere you can buy $50,000 to $75,000 a door and get as many doors under one roof as possible for the next play.
Basically, he's telling you to improve your market location. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
Because what'd you pay per door there?
It's like 92,000.
Okay. So
but he's saying to go to a different market where I can just get more doors.
Gotcha.
And because I get more appreciation the more doors I have over time.
Gotcha. So he's saying, yeah, I follow what you're saying. That makes sense. Wow. So what were your key 3 takeaways or whatever from meeting with Grant?
For one, he's just another guy who's been playing the game a long time. I looked up to him as an idol, and it's amazing to look up to him because I was watching him every day on Cardone U. But at the end of the day, he's just a guy who's committed to it long term, and the success he has is attainable. The amount of apartments he's done, like what he's done, is attainable if you play the game long enough. That was huge for me.
Yeah, you could be Grant Cardone for sure.
Yeah, because he started, I don't know the exact days, but I think he started when he was like 32, 33 with his first bigger apartment deal, somewhere in there. And so to me, it's inspiration. The other things that I learned how to make sense of a 4% cap rate, which looking at Seattle now, I can justify some of the deals for once in my life.
Tell us what you mean there. Explain that.
So cap rate, it's the return, like cash on cash return if you pay cash. And so I could never justify getting into a lower paying deal. But the real reason behind the deal not making sense wasn't the return. It was because I didn't have access to certain types of debt, whatever I could borrow money at. And I learned like he's borrowing money, long-term debt at 2.35% interest only, which is just ridiculous. And so looking at these really expensive deals when you can borrow money for almost for free, when you think about inflation, those deals make sense. And he's buying for appreciation. He gets the cash flow, but he's buying for the appreciation in those lower percentage paying markets. and he's making a ridiculous amount of money. He has a different game plan. He wants to convert to a REIT and sell off everything at a 2.5% cap rate at that point, which is another story. But
Interesting.
I guess learning from someone on a completely different level who's done it all, I mean, it's kind of takes your breath away.
Heck yeah, man. And how do you feel like you have access to him going forward, or it's just another, paid event type of thing? Are you in some sort of inner circle thing now, or?
It would be another paid event.
Cool. Well worth it, like you said. So how about raising money? How do you raise money? What have you learned about raising money? And put me on your buyers list or your investor list.
Yeah. So what I've learned about raising money is that to the extent you're sold that what you're doing is a good thing, you'll raise the money for it. So I've raised around $500,000 for deals now, and it's because I was all in and I believed that the deals were good. I knew that what the investors were getting were phenomenal returns, and because of that, I was able to raise the money for it. I absolutely loved the opportunity, and I was able to convey a story. It's just a story that you're telling somebody, and they have to like the story. And so the first thing is like, fall in love with the deal. Do you want to do it? And then figure out the debt piece after, which is the raising the money. You got to get in front of folks. Like, you got to get attention. But
well, there you go. We're going to help you do that right here today. That's all good stuff. Yeah. And did Grant give you some tips on how to raise capital?
He did, and he's doing something that most people aren't doing. He's utilizing social media like crazy. But his basic outline was, number one, find the deal and fall in love with the deal. That's the hardest part. And then share it with the world. Let everybody know that you're doing this deal no matter what. Okay. The money that came in for my second 12-plex came in 2 or 3 days before closing. It was very tight, but I knew the deal was going to work, and I absolutely loved it. And so we were able to put it together. But yeah, you got to find the deal, and then you got to get attention and let everybody know, like everyone that you know, let them know that you love it and you're going to do it, and that you want to share the opportunity with them. Like my pitch when I call people, and I've done this to raise money before, is, hey, I've got this amazing opportunity, and as soon as it came across my desk, I thought about you, wanted to reach out. And that's how I've been able to raise all the money I've ever raised. It's just letting people know that I think about them, because I do. It's all genuine, but I think about them when I find good opportunities, and I want them to be a part of it. And that's been monumental for me.
Awesome stuff, brother. So what will you not buy?
I won't buy development projects. I wouldn't buy something that doesn't cash flow right now.
From day one.
From day one. For me, it needs to cash flow because of my current position, or I can't justify it. Because I haven't made it yet. I don't have enough free and clear cash flow to justify the risk. And
so where, as far as that goes, right? That means that then where are you looking to make the upside? What are you focused on? If you have to buy a cash flowing deal from day one, what are the upside opportunities in that deal that you're looking for, right? Are you just mismanaged properties, mom and pop type stuff?
It's not even that. It's just the first thing I'm looking for is the number of units. And I need to have, that's my multiplier right there. Because if I raise around $100 on a single family, yeah, I get $100 a month. If I raise $100 on a 12-plex, I get $1,200 a month. It's a lot more for the same amount of work. Because it's the same notice.
Statement right there, guys. What a very simple, relatable statement for the reason why you want to go bigger. That is a good one. Yep.
And so I'm looking for number of units. That's my first most important most important piece. But then two, is it a growing economy? The question I always ask myself is, who's going to be my tenant? And if I can't answer that, I don't buy my deal, because I need to understand who I'm going to rent to. And as long as I understand that piece, I know, okay, this is what my vacancy is going to be like. All my deals have a 1-year wait list. I'm not worried. Like, I can call somebody up and say, hey, I've got a unit vacant and it'll be filled tomorrow. But I knew who my typical tenant was going to be going into these deals. And because of that, I'm able to target and start putting the ads in those places. So I always have a list. So that's huge for me. And then I want to know, is there rental upside? Am I buying, you mentioned mom and pop, am I buying from someone who's owned it for a while? And with seller financing, you are, because they have no debt or little debt. And they probably didn't need to raise rent because they have no mortgage payment. They're content. But I get to be the new sheriff in town and go in and say, hey, rents are raising. We're going to market. And then I get the value add, because I'm bringing in an extra $1,200 a month or an extra $2,400 a month.
Right. And one of the things to remember as you're doing that is that, can the current tenant base actually afford the rent increase, right? Or you're going to vacancy as you roll there, or you have to control it very slowly. You don't want to raise rents. You can't, and then, and you have to be careful about raising everybody's rents the same, right? You can't raise somebody some and some another or whatever. So my big tips as a long-term asset manager were always, looking at those factors, as well as, can the current tenants actually even afford, or are you going to have to turn over your entire tenant base to succeed? And the other thing, major tip that I see people screw up, where they are good at everything and then they don't really think through, they're so excited they're leasing up. Do not have, first of all your leases maturing in the same month. You need to, spread out your, lease maturities. And also, when you go and put a loan on there, you have to be careful, especially when you're in like commercial real estate, not to have your leases expiring near the time that your loan needs to be refinanced. Those are asset management tips that you'll screw yourself. If you have a bunch of vacancy prior to some sort of loan event. And that, I see people buy buildings that are half empty and they renovate them and then they lease them all up in the same month. And then, the other thing is maybe thinking about not having your leases expire at a certain time of year. My neighbor has some rentals and her lease maturities are up in like October 31st. And I said, next time you sign a lease, I think you should sign like a 6 or 9 month lease, a shorter term lease with your tenant, and just simply communicate to them it's not because you plan to raise their rent, but that you just need to move the date of the maturity to control your exposure over, you don't want to be vacant over the holidays and things like that. You hear it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's 100% on board with that. I was fortunate when I got my deals, like I don't have to worry about refinancing for a long time if I don't have to. And so as tenants leave, then I fill it back up. But I've got leases, a lot of them are month to month because the previous owners did that. And so I'm not signing year leases quite yet, because you can't, with COVID going on, you can't change any of the fees you're billing out. Like, I'm not going to raise rent. And people, like right now, I prefer to keep it month to month, because if people want to leave, they can leave and I can fill it up at market rent. And that's no biggie for me. I'm not trying to lock anybody in, especially during one of the biggest pandemics that we've had.
However, when you go to refinance, you might have a challenge there with month-to-month leases, maybe.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And the deal that's month to month, I've got just about everybody. My deal I bought last year, everybody's in 1 year. But this new deal I bought just this past July, the second 12-plex, most people are month to month. I've got someone on a 6 month, but I'm not in a position to refinance that for at least a year, because I want to be able to pull money out. And so I've still got another 10 months on that. So I'm not too concerned, because all my debt's so long term, I don't have to worry about the refi.
Excellent.
It's just an added bonus to improve cash flow. It's all a bonus. Like the deal has to make sense today. And if it gets better in the future, that's a perk of the deal.
Right. Bam. Right there. Totally different perspective, I think, than how you hear all this chatter on social media and all these investment forums, right? I think the message that we're discussing today is more educated, I'll say, sometimes. So we're going to start wrapping it down here a little bit. What's your 12-month goal?
I want to be at 50 apartments before I turn 22. So I turned 21 this December. And so within the next, it's like 14 months from now, I want to be at 50 apartments.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about buying some of Jennifer's stuff? Are you prefer to find your own deal because you get a better deal, through her Addict to ROI stuff?
I don't actually think I've seen her deals.
Oh,
believe it or not.
I want to tap into that. There you go. Jennifer, if you're listening, meet Cody. Cody, you should just get on her deal list because, I've seen her have 12 plexes come out and things like that, but they're in markets more like Nashville or, some of those markets that might align with your 50 grand per door type stuff. Believe it or not, guys, when I was started in this business, you could buy units in Tacoma for, 50 grand a door, or even less in some cases. I don't think that's at all the case anymore. But those were the good days. Let me tell you what. So, big building I own right now is down in Lakewood, but, which I've owned for 15 years. That's how old I am, guys. Really, really have no money in the deal. It's like a tax nightmare for me. If we were to sell it, I'd have to exchange, or it would be insane. Talking about, depreciation, recapture, and all that other stuff. But that's your next education, right? As you grow your portfolio, is to learn all about, all the tax stuff, right? And
depreciation is huge. I mean, people are getting mad at Trump right now. Not political at all, but I'm just saying, I got to pay zero in taxes last year because of the depreciation from my buildings.
That's right.
It's phenomenal.
I had a enormous cash out refinance on my big apartment building, and it is insane that's not a taxable event. I mean,
right?
Absolutely nuts, right? And so I do find that interesting that people scrutinize his taxes, and I'm not being political either, but unless you understand real estate, you might not quite understand how to read those taxes. But I'm sure there's all other stuff in there that people are focusing on. Not going there because this isn't a political talk.
Right.
And I have, this not at all saying one way or another about anything here. So good stuff, brother. So 12 months, you want to get to, what'd you say, 50 doors?
50 doors.
50 doors. How about 5 years from now?
5 years, it's more about helping other folks at that point. I have a long-term goal. My end goal is to get to reverse engineered this. It's about 1,400 apartments. And there's a significant number behind the 1,400, but I want to get to 1,400 apartments by age 40.
Oh, I think you're going to beat that.
So I've got 20 years.
Oh, you're going to beat that. My prediction is that you will, especially if you go for the bigger deals and raise the capital. I mean, you could do that and you're going to beat that. So, and maybe I'm going to ride along with you, Cody. That'd be cool.
That'd be fun.
So what do you do in your free time?
Free time?
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking there. Free time. So I still like to do gymnastics. I'm a parkour guy, so I jump off of buildings. I like going on runs. I love the wilderness. So I go hiking, and I'm a car guy. So part of the reason I'm doing the real estate is to fund the car passion.
Okay. Well, what is the car passion? What's the pinnacle? What's the most baddest ass car that you could get? And is that a classic car, or is it something like I'm not a car person.
I'm a McLaren guy, so it's like the penultimate's the F1.
There you go.
It's a $20 million car on an inexpensive day.
Grant have one of those?
No.
No.
Grant would say it's dumb, but that's okay because it's a dream.
That's right.
So
good stuff. Are you like a vision board guy? Do you have like a vision board or any of that yet?
Not a vision board, but I do have a journal that I write down all my goals in every day. It's important for me. I need to stay on track because as a real estate agent, being younger, not having any family in the business, like having no connections, it's hard in a business where you don't get paid a fixed rate. You actually have to go procure business. And so on the months that aren't so great, or the days that are kind of down in the dumps, I make sure that I have a strong hold and a strong vision on my goals and doing what I'm doing. So that's kind of my vision board to keep me on track with my potential.
Right. Just do you. So what kind of networking, who would you like to meet? And so we can deliver those to you. Who, not like a person like Grant Cardone, but who are you? What types of people? I know, we're trying to be nice here. Of course, he wants to meet everybody. Everybody wants to meet everybody. But for your business, doing you, who could we introduce you to? What types of people that would enhance your growth at this time? Would that be people that want to invest passively with you so you can raise money? Who would that be?
I mean, that's a broad topic, but we've got like the typical person who wants to invest, or that I'd want to meet, is someone who is potential driven. They're focused on long term. I'm not a get rich quick kind of guy. Real estate for me is long term, but it pays well. And so someone who is committed to their goals and committed to growing and wants to see their goals through. They're not willing to walk away when one thing goes wrong, because real estate investing is investing. It's not a promise. It's not a get rich quick. I've had expenses with my real estate, but it still pays. And so I want to meet the types of folks who are looking for a long-term play that is going to pay well in the meantime and pay well in the long term. And they're really focused on just growing a little bit every day.
Awesome. Okay, I'm trying to think of some people. I know some other younger guys that I've mentored over the years myself with their growth, that I'm going to make sure that I introduce you guys, because I feel like it's always good to be around people that are sharing the same vision, right? Not just people that are going to help you raise money, but you see everybody at the top, and even here locally with our real estate investment clubs, we're all friends with each other. We all talk to each other. We all cross promote each other, just like Grant Cardone and all these other big guys do. They cross promote each other, and being around like-minded people that are, maybe you might consider your competition. That's the wrong way to look at it. Nobody's competition, right? You're in your own head with your own journal, doing you. And welcoming everybody, never holding back information, sharing. That's the epitome of my whole thing. Open book. You want to engage with the stuff that I engage in, you're going to share everything you know, because literally most people aren't going to do anything. And people that are doing things, you want to know who they are anyways, not as your competitor, even though they sort of could be, I guess, but not really. There's enough to go around because there's not that many people that are doers. Right? So why not get yourself in the room with the people that are, and grow together and share stories and ideas and strategies and collaborate and synergize. That's what my VIP education communities group all about. That's what Blackwell Real Estate is about. And so I'll be thinking of some people that you might not know that I feel have the same vision and drive and smarts and commitment and realistic thinking that you do. I'll try and introduce them to you. And then maybe I'll sit in the room with you guys too, while you guys hash it out. But
that'd be awesome. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So last question, and then who do you listen to? Like, when you have downtime, or like you're bored in the office, like you say, in between deals, or what kind of stuff are you listening to? You listen to, and you study up on Cardone University. I don't know if you're a Bigger Pockets guy, or what do you plug into? Hopefully you'll start plugging into Seattle Investors Club and the nuts and bolts of real estate investing, and check out 100 and so many episodes we've done. If you, and welcome to, if you have anybody that you think would be great for us to interview on the show that inspire you, let us know. In fact, in that case, you could be my co-host and we could talk to them together. I'll throw that out there to you. Right.
That'd be cool.
Everybody grows together. If you know of anybody that'd be fun to talk to, like yourself. But who are you listening to or reading or, that sort of thing?
Yeah, for me, one thing I heard early in my career was that focus on just 2 mentors, and otherwise you'll get distracted. And one mentor is someone you follow, and one's a lighthouse. And if you're in a boat, you don't go to the lighthouse because you hit the land. So it shows you where not to go. And so I've got my 2 mentors, but one of them's Robert and one of them's Grant, and I look up to both of them. So those are the main folks I listen to. I listen to Robert in the office, and I listen to Grant. But if I listen to too many people, like if I listen to Grant Cardone solely and I listen to Dave Ramsey, I've done that. I did both of that, and I got confused because I was like, well, shoot, it'd be cool to not have any debt. But if I didn't have any debt, I wouldn't have my real estate that I have right now. And so I don't want to get confused. And so I just listen to Grant. And then I have my mentor in the office, Robert. And between those 2, I don't get distracted.
Love it. 100%. It's funny because, I sort of fell into this role here in Seattle Investors Club, kind of happened organically over the years by itself. And honestly, this podcast is a selfish way for me to talk to people like you and all the smart people, across the country that are doing things, and it's educational for me. So it's really, I get to educate myself about topics that I'm interested in or people I'm interested in, and just simply share it with my friends, because we have this awesome platform that I give credit to my partner here, Joe Bauer, for creating for us. But the truth of the matter is, it is like a reality TV show watching all these real estate forums, stuff, this and that. I would almost say I'm not even a huge fan of engaging too much in that, because it is a distraction. Because I'll tell you, the most successful people that I know, they're not on there and you never hear from them. You know what I mean? So
right.
To your point, stay focused, right? Love it, brother. Good tips. So you're going to be talking more. I'm going to push you. Robert will probably push you to, again, not too much, because you don't want to get distracted. You're into growing your portfolio at this point, which, like you said, 5 years down the road, maybe you're more going to be giving back as much as you can. But in the meantime, you will be posting some stuff on your YouTube channel, right, as you're growing, that people can follow along, not necessarily as some guru, but funny how people are going to start probably watching and listening to you after this, I think, a little bit more, as we help spread the word about your awesome, focused success at such a young age. But where can people find you on YouTube, so they can, in case you post stuff, that they can follow along and learn more from you as you're growing?
Yeah, so if they want to look up a video, my first video is just 24 apartments at age 20. It was the most clickbaity, but it was true. But I just wanted to post something that was easy to find, and I'll get you a link so you can include that. But the main thing about the YouTube, like my videos right now, they're not perfect, and I haven't completely made it yet. But my goal with it is just to share everything that I'm doing, the things that I'm learning. I'm sharing what I've learned from, like, I made a video about what I learned from Grant Cardone's conference, what I spent the money to go visit with him and ask him one-on-one questions. And so I'm just putting it all out there. And the goal with that is just for folks to be able to follow someone who hasn't completely made it yet, because a lot of the people on YouTube have already made it. I just want to share the step-by-step on exactly what I'm doing as I'm working towards it.
Which frankly is much more interesting and educational, informative, to be honest with you. I think people in some ways might rather listen to you than Grant Cardone if they're just getting started, right? And then they pick up and listen to Grant as they, either way, listen to you both. Maybe you're gonna be their mentor on one side with Grant Cardone on the other side, the 2 mentor program, right? You never know. No, right? So love it. All right. Well, what's your YouTube channel called, just in case? And we're gonna drop it down in the show notes. But
it's just called Cody Davis.
All right, Cody Davis, CODYDAVIS. There you go. Okay, and so it's easier though to find you if they search that name of that video. Say it one more time.
24 apartments at age 20.
There you go. All right, guys. Joe, maybe even grab that one and throw it into the show notes. So, oh man, Cody, we can talk to you forever, and we are going to have you back. And I just want to say to you, anytime that you feel like something significant has happened or you learned something really great, hit me up or Joe here, and let's share it. This is a platform I'm offering to you to accelerate your growth and share your message. And we look forward to building a relationship with you over these next few years. I know you're going to crush it. So
I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to say one other thing, guys, today, that we are sponsored today by Certain Lending, which is a hard money lender locally here in Washington, as well as many, many other states. I don't even know how many states right now. Could be over 20 states that they're in. I'm not sure. CertainLending.com. Go check them out. Why we love Certain Lending is because they're not just focused on their bottom line. They're focused on relationship building. You have a deal that you are looking to purchase. You can run it by the Certain Lending team. That would be Lee, I think, LENGHI at certainlending.com, or Israel Lopez, our guys on their team that can help you look at those deals. And if they think you're going to get a better lending opportunity or push you towards maybe conventional, they will let you know that, because the beauty of our community is that we are synergistic and collaborative, and we will help you get pointed in the right direction. So we love you, Certain Lending. Shout out to them, certainlending.com. If you have a deal, shoot it over to Israel at certainlending.com or NGHI at certainlending.com, and give them the opportunity to help you or point you in the right direction for all your real estate investing needs. They also have a 30-year loan product that we're going to be putting back out on our channels to remind you guys about, that they have relaunched after this COVID stuff. So if you haven't heard about that yet, please go check into it so you're aware that that's available for you guys. Other than that, we would love it if you would join our YouTube channel, Seattle Investors Club. Just go on to YouTube and look up Seattle Investors Club, and please hit the subscribe to hear all this great information as we continue to bring it to you each week. Join our meetup group, meetup.com, search Seattle Investors Club, join there. That's the easiest place for us to communicate our messages to you as well. We appreciate that. The more you join us, the more we're going to bring you people like Cody and get the word out and be able to attract people. Who knows, maybe even Grant Cardone will come on someday. You never know unless you ask, right? And now we know somebody, we're one step away from Grant through Cody, right? 6 degrees of separation. You never know. Weekly, join us on our weekly mastermind, which is for all real estate pros, investors, broker investors. If you flip, you burr, you build, you're in commercial real estate, multifamily, you're a conventional lender, you're a hard money lender, you're a private money lender, you're a whatever, you touch real estate. Join us every Thursday Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Open discussion on current real estate topics for investors, brokers, everything, lending, staying on top of it weekly. You don't have to come every week, but I guarantee you that it is a great place to be, to connect with people in our local market. We're actually having people plug in from other markets a bit too. So join us. You can find the link to access that weekly meetup on our meetup page at meetup.com. Search Seattle Investors Club every Thursday morning. Grab the access link, which is just a Zoom link, and we'll see you there. Other than that, Joe, where can everybody find the details of today's spectacular podcast with Mr. Cody Davis?
Yeah, you guys can get all of the notes that we've taken, as well as the link to Cody's YouTube channel at seattleinvestorsclub.com/129. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/129. If you like what we're doing here, we'd love it if you give us a review on your favorite listening source.
And one last word, if you think that you have information, services, or something that would benefit our community of listeners and engage with us on the nuts and bolts of real estate investing, feel free to reach out. And we'd like to hear from you. If you are feeling like you have something that you can share either as a podcast guest or maybe becoming one of our sponsors, that's a very vetted situation for us. We're not looking to have a whole bunch of sponsors, but if you think that you might be somebody that wants to engage with us, reach out to us. You can hit me up at Julie, Julie, at seattleinvestorsclub.com. All right, guys. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Cody. And we will catch you next time. Over and out.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.